All right, going to show you guys the differences in some of the SKS rifles that you can find laying around. I have three examples right here, and these are going to be the three most popular examples of SKSs that you find. The only one that I'm really missing is a Yugo SKS, and I'll kind of give a little bit of information on those as we go along, but this is just a general video going over the SKS. Getting into it, let's start with the original. Here at the top, we have a Tula Russian SKS. The way you tell a Russian SKS different from the rest is if you see up here on the top of the dust cover, we have a Tula arsenal marking. And the arsenal marking for a Tula is going to be a star with a arrow, just like that, like an actual arrow from a bow and arrow. It'll be up there, and then you'll see a manufacturing date at the bottom. So right here, it may be a little hard to tell, but there is a import markings right there. At the top, you can see SKS 762 by 39, Russia. Kind of hard to make it out. And then we have an import marking at the bottom. Anyways, check the barrel. It's going to say something along those lines, SKS and caliber, and then country of origin, usually. Up here on the Russian rifles, on the Chinese ones, it's usually different. And then you can look on the side right here at your serial number. And then there's other arsenal markings that you can look at that are indicative of Russian SKSs, but that's the main, I guess, 3-4 spots that you can look at to tell if the rifle you have is Russian. And then they're also going to have this kind of dark wood stock, as you can see this example has. But there's tells. There's a little bit more to kind of get into it, but mostly those are going to be your easiest tells, is looking at your markings and arsenal markings and serial number. Your Russian SKSs are usually going to run you around $700 to $900 on average, depending on quality, if it's all original, if it's all numbers matching, and basically just overall condition. This one's a decent condition, so this kind of rifle would run you maybe like 750, 850, depending on who's selling it, where you're at in the country, and if anything's missing from it. It's also numbers matching, stock matches, bayonet matches, gas tube, magazine, fire control group, all that stuff. It's 100% matching. Next, we have our Chinese SKS, which is going to be the most popular SKS rifle that you find around. So this SKS is a factory 26 make. You can see right here, we have a factory 26 arsenal marking. You look closely, you can see it's a triangle with the, it's kind of weird font, but with 26 in the triangle. So factory 26. I'm not sure what all factories made them, but there's multiple. So to differentiate a Chinese SKS from a Russian SKS, you have a few tells. Mainly, it's going to be the markings that are on the barrel or receiver. But Chinese SKSs have this kind of straight grain Chinese wood or chakam, and your Chinese rifles are going to have this spiker style right here, if they even have it, because typically they get removed, sometimes by the users, sometimes by importing restrictions or state restrictions. But you see a spiker bayonet on a rifle, that's a good tell that it is a Chinese example. The actual military designation for the Chinese SKS is a Type 56 semi-automatic rifle. And then right here on the receiver, we have a marking SKS 762 by 39, made in China by Norinco. So talking prices on Chinese SKSs, people just want to try to get the most out of these fucking rifles, and they're just not worth it. Just a side note, if you guys got any concerns about pricing or you want a price check, I personally, I'll go on Gun Broker, and I would, make an account if you don't already have one. Make an account on Gun Broker, and then go to the completed auctions in the advanced search settings, and then just actually see what people are paying for these rifles, and do your best to compare what example you have or what example you're looking at, and that way you can gauge a good price for it. These rifles are out there. You can find them for 400, 450, 500, and in like really good condition. Anyways, that was a Chinese SKS. Now we have a Romanian SKS right here. I'm gonna try to make a little bit of room. Okay, so we have a Romanian SKS, or the military designation is going to be a M.56. So this example, this is probably the shittiest one I got. So this is a Romanian SKS made in Romania by Cujer, and I'm not saying that exactly right, but Cujer produced these rifles. They're the only factory in Romania that produce these rifles, as far as I know. But this thing it's mismatched left and right. This is obviously an aftermarket stock. It's not doesn't look terrible. I don't dislike it. Anyways, how to tell these apart is you have, just like the Russian SKS, you have some markings up here on the barrel, at least with this example. We have our importer, right? Our importer marking right here, if you can see that. And then we have Cujer, Romania. Kind of hard to fucking show you. But up here we have Cujer, Romania, MDI 56, 762 by 39. I know it's hard to see. Sorry if you can't see it, but you see you have arsenal markings up here. That's the way you can tell where it's from, is by looking at your import markings or arsenal markings. Right here, we have a triangle with a up pointing arrow. That is a Cujer, Romania factory marking or arsenal marking, whichever you want to call it. Literally anything, if you see that marking, that is Cujer, Romania made, produced. So right here we have a just about 100% mismatched rifle. It did come with a bayonet, did not come with a cleaning rod. A lot of them I see without it. I don't know if it's some sort of import thing that they didn't come with cleaning rods, but it did come with a bayonet, so I honestly have no fucking clue. But anyways, this one I got for like 300, 350 bucks out the door. But these typically, if they're in good condition and good quality and everything looks good and nice, and all the things are matching, you're going to look about at the same price as a Yugo SKS, maybe a little bit more, just because there's not as many of them laying around. But that's a basic price estimate on these. Like I said, look on Gunbroker at any given time. My prices aren't 100% up to date. These are prices from, off the top of my head from maybe a couple years ago. But check Gunbroker, make sure that what you're getting is a fair price and what other people are paying for it, obviously. So the only rifle that I'm missing, the fourth most popular rifle or SKS model that you'll find in the US, is going to be a Yugo SKS. I really wish I had a Yugo SKS to show you. Sadly, I don't. So Yugo SKS kind of looks the same as these. Usually they're going to have a grenade launcher spigot on the front of it. And I'll put up a picture right here of what the Yugo SKS looks like, with its grenade launcher spigot on the front. Yugo SKSs are usually pretty sought after because they're really beefed up. These SKSs, the receiver is milled, and on the Yugo SKSs, the receiver is a little bit thicker than your standard SKSs that you're going to find. Like all of these have the same milled receiver, width, but on a Yugo SKS, it's a little bit thicker, and you get a more durable rifle. With that being said, how much it matters depends on how much you shoot, what you're putting it through exactly. To most people, it probably doesn't matter. But if you want a really good, sturdy, high quality SKS, a Yugo SKS should be your go-to. Everyone wants a Russian SKS because it's Russian, it's original. You know, they're sought after just for being the original actual Russian SKS-45. But a Yugo SKS is a great buy, solid rifles, and the grenade spigot on the front of it is actually a really cool thing. And then plus the receivers being a little bit thicker, that just really adds to it. If for me, I love high quality rifles and that kind of aesthetic and little accessories that are particular to a certain country of origin. But those are going to be around the same price as either of these two things, maybe a little bit more depending on its condition. A lot of them have the spigot cut off or the bayonet missing, and obviously that's going to affect price. But if it has the spigot, it's all original. Might be a little bit more than your standard run of the mill Chinese or Romanian SKS. Like I said, check on Gunbroker for the prices. That way you're not misled by anyone, even me. So always double check your prices. Don't just buy something out of the blue, and you'll be fine. So guys, that's all I want to talk about. Hope you guys learned something. Sorry for not getting into certain things too deeply, but I just wanted this to be a really basic overview of these rifles and prices and a little bit of information about them for anyone who's kind of interested in knowing more. So hope you guys learned something, and thank you for watching.